Hey everyone, this is Mr. Everything. I wanted to show a demo, I guess somewhat of a review of the Cerakote headlight wipes. I know they're going to work because I've used these before on a different car. Unfortunately, last year I cheaped out and I bought the Turtle Wax version, which doesn't give you as many wipes. I don't even know if you add an oxidation. You might add one or something. It was a $10 kit. And this, I originally found it from the Griots garage version, which I was originally going to buy, but it costs way more. And I believe from what I've seen, like you don't get as many gloves and you don't get as many wipes, and it costs more, and it's made by Cerakote. So to me, it would make more sense to get this version, which is cheaper, and you can get it on Amazon, and I think it has more with it. So hopefully this will work out better with these than the Turtle Wax did. And this is about a year, so these didn't hold up well at all. And the last car I did, which I wanted to show that in this video, but I sold it. That was more of a round headlight on an SRT Ford Neon, but hopefully it'll come across as good. And the first thing is the prep, so you definitely want to cover these off. You could take the headlight out, which would be fine, but the problem is for the sanding, and really even just for putting the ceramic on, you want to definitely have a steady hand and not have anything wobbling, so you're going to need a workbench or a vise to hold it down. So I just decided not to do that. It's easier to just keep it fixed in here. And as far as putting the masking tape on, note if you recently waxed the car, your tape's going to peel up. I think last time it wouldn't stick, but I haven't waxed this car since like the winter time, so it's pretty tacky now and everything's stuck. And I'm not going to show the whole thing because once you get this stuff on your hands, I can't be touching the camera and I don't want this to take forever. But I might just record the whole thing and pick some parts out, or just get updates, because it's just following the directions. It works fine. I just want to show it before and after. And these headlights aren't that bad. The ones I did prior were completely matte and yellow and clouded. This is about what they looked like a year ago, and the Turtle Wax didn't work, so try this and see what the difference is. And it's pretty much as simple as following this. And I'm sure there's other videos on it, but I just figured I would show it in my case. And in case for some reason you would lose the instructions, here you go. Hopefully I did review this, but hopefully I can remember and just do it as well as I did last year, because they came out great. Now again, with this kit you get 8 of these, and they suggest using all of them, so it would do me no good to keep a couple of these because you got to use the ceramic up. So I'm going to use them all. I like to try and have this stuff prepared, so I'll do 4 per light, so I tear them and have them ready. I do keep them sealed so they don't dry out, but and I usually just wear the glove on one hand, so that way you have a few extra if one tears. And I like to have a little more dexterity with my other hand, and I think if you got just a little bit, I don't think you'd have any problems. You could just wipe your hand off. And these probably are even less aggressive than the ceramic, which will harden on your skin. And they're pretty much all ready to go. You can fold them over. Let's hope this comes out as good as it did on the other car a year ago, because they were just trashed, just completely faded out, and it did just fine. So you can see here again, pretty lightly oxidized. This is where you probably would want that second glove on, but I'll go ahead and just don't think it'll be the end of me. So I might not even need to use all 4 on each light. Might just need to use 2. And I think that the real failure with the Turtle Wax was just the ceramic wipe they gave wasn't that good. They were kind of dry. These Cerakotes are just really saturated. And these are also bigger lenses than what the Neons were, so I mean, I am still getting, you ideally want to keep doing this until these come out clean. I'll switch to my second wipe, even though I could probably keep folding this one. And then also, if you read the instructions, they shouldn't get any type of wet water or debris on them. Don't drive for at least 60 minutes. It's supposed to be a sunny day, but I would assume there'll probably be a torrential downpour shortly after I do this. And I should mention, it should be most obvious, if you have a garage, you really should do it in a garage for a cleaner environment. And you definitely want to do it in the shade, because that ceramic will just harden and streak. You want to let it kind of just melt in. It doesn't really melt, but it'll just kind of smooth out as it cures to it. And in the hot sun, then it would be hotter out too, so it makes it more miserable. But I picked like right hour before sunset in the shade. So I ended up using all 4 wipes because they were still coming up yellow, and I was a little more aggressive off camera. And mine looked pretty good because I think they were still pretty clean from last time. But you also need some water. And the only problem with the masking tape is it's definitely going to hold some of that water. And ideally you drop your rag in the dirt. But that's going to, you're going to want to try and dab all that out when you do the last step after the wet sanding, because you definitely don't want any of that dripping on the ceramic, at least for the first probably 5 or 10 minutes. Maybe a light drop wouldn't etch it, but that'll ruin it if it gets too wet. And I did wash the car before I did this, just so the headlights, it needed washed anyway, so the headlights would be clean. But you don't have to wash it again, but you want to wipe this off, especially once you wet sand, because you'll get like cloudy streaks on your paint where just that milky looking water dries on the paint. But you can see that clouded look that's explained in the paper now that I've wiped it off. And that's really good enough because it's going to get more cleaned with the wet sanding. And then for step 2, you'll do the wet sanding. One thing again I like with the Cerakote, you get the prep. This is the heavier grit. Looks like it says 2,000, and I believe this is 3,000. So you get one for each light. So you wear, again, mine aren't that bad, but you can start fresh with each headlight. And it's a little better than, this is what came with the turtle wax. I think there was another one of these that had 2 more grits. But again, since I sanded it last year, it's probably not that bad, so just these should do the job. But you'll fasten the red and start with the wet sanding. And I like to just put a little bit on here, a little bit on the light, and you'll have to obviously keep reapplying. But you should get some clouding. And since these are rectangular, 90-degree edges, I probably will have to take this off and do some of this with some finger pressure in the corners that I can't hit. But the majority of the wear is right in front anyway, so it doesn't need to be as precise. There's usually not as much yellowing, and even if there was, wouldn't matter. But you can see this is really making a difference, and I like that they give you this nice little application tool. The other ones you can use a drill. They give you a backing plate, you put hook on your drill. I mean, those would probably work, but this is all by hand, and I have no problem doing it. Like this, it's better than the turtle wax. And this is where the mess starts on your paint. So you will want to, once you got this whole thing done, clean it really good. You want to do it before you put the ceramic on, so you don't have to worry about potentially getting anything on the ceramic. Oh, a non-circular motion. Well, if you know anything about sanding, it doesn't really matter if you're going to use a lighter grit, so just make sure for that final application, you do get more aggression when you do a circular pattern. And since this is the heavier grit, if your lights are heavily oxidized, which mine really aren't, wouldn't be a bad idea to start out with that circular motion, get a little more cut, and then do it this way. And you want to get it pretty good, but the purpose of the ceramic is it will fill in any micro scratches and really clear up these lights. Much like a wax, that's kind of how ceramic works, but it's more of a permanent version of a wax that'll level it off and harden it. So it's like a wax and a clear coat combined. But it is different than a car ceramic wax. This is specifically a curing type for a plastic lens. I'm gonna do some more of this off camera, and then I'll come back when I switch to this lighter grit. And then another thing to note, pretty much once these get wet, they're shot, so you really don't want to be taking them off too many times. But I am gonna use this just to touch up this corner. Because I could pretty much get the rest of this without it, but just to do a little bit more. And this is why you definitely want to mask everything off so you're not taking off your paint or scratching up any chrome, or depending on how the front of your car looks, which mine's not too good, but having these nice clear headlights will dress it up some. And then switching to the 3000 grit's pretty much the same thing. Get it wet, let the light. You probably could just use a misting bottle, but I like to have something. Just a bunch of mist wouldn't really get it to really run off like just some direct water would. Hose would be overkill, but just a water bottle should do it. And I actually have some plastic polish from that turtle wax kit, which I used before, but this 3000 grit's fine enough. And these lights are level enough that I don't think I'm going to even waste the time to do that. I have to try and really finish it off, clean it up before I can put the ceramic on. So I don't think I'll do that, but I will mention it. And since the kit officially doesn't say that, it just says after you go over it with 3000, you clean it up and you're good to apply the ceramic. I don't think I would need to do that plastic polish like the turtle wax did. And that might be just because they're using a more saturated, heavier ceramic that'll fill in any micro scratches. Now I'm feeling pretty good about how this came out, so I definitely think that the 3000 grit was enough. Looks to be a nice uniform coat. But I'm not sure if you can see kind of how there's, from rubbing up against, you're starting to get this tape peeling off. So you kind of want to make sure that's out of the way so it doesn't pull back and start to drip water on it. And I'll probably let this dry for a while and work on the other one off camera, because you definitely want it to be nice and dry for the ceramic. And there is one spot here, but it actually feels like it's a defect. There's a big lump. And what you might not be able to see on camera is right here. There's a clear spot that's always been in it, but I think that's from the other side of the lens. And I can live without, I can live with that being in there. But that is pretty uniform. So with the turtle wax, which was part of their kit, not this one, you could do this for the last one. And you can check this, because I still have a whole bunch of this left, but I really don't see the need to use it. It's just another step, and so you have to get a rag, rub it in. If you don't have a drill, it's going to take way longer, and it might be a little cleaner, but then you really want to clean it so none of the residue impedes the ability for the ceramic to go in it. So since this is stripped as good as it can be, I'm going to skip this. I do not think, maybe I did, but I don't think I did this with the other car. And either way, I'm just not going to try it. And I want to see what it looks like just straight what Cerakote gives you and nothing extra. Alright, so I'm feeling pretty good about how I got this. I have more of a second cleaning rag that's dry, because that other one got pretty saturated. Now there's definitely still some defects, which you can probably, that's probably like the factory coating or something, or maybe just where bird crap or dirt etched into it. And it's definitely pretty uniform. You can see light scratches, but no light. These lights aren't that bad. I mean, most people's cars probably aren't even this good, and it may be a little more clouded in, from my eye compared to what the camera sees. Alright, so this is the final step. You get 2 of these. I like to be careful when I tear these so you don't open it. If you only opened one, then you could use that one first, because you definitely don't want these to dry out compared to the oxidation ones. Because if these get tacky, it'll mess it up. And that's exactly what I did with the turtle wax, was I tried to do both with one and keep one extra. And it just got too tacky. So you want to be pretty quick here with this one. It said from top to bottom, no overlapping, or 50% overlap, but don't go over it twice. And the last time I did this, I definitely did multiple coats, but that's the thing, is you don't want it to get tacky. So I am trying to do the edges like really quick, but if you overlap it and it starts to dry, and it's like trying to almost like paint over wet paint, and it'll just streak and look terrible, because to my eye that looks excellent. And I am just gonna, probably shouldn't have done that, but looks like I pretty much got all of it. And that's why I've made sure to push all these corners back so I didn't really get caught on them. Now again, this is the mistake I made with the other one. It's still very wet. The turtle wax one wasn't this wet and it wasn't this big, but I flipped it over, like opened it up, applied it, and halfway through it was too dry and it smeared, and then by the time I got the second one out, it ruined it. That looks excellent. I can still see those light stains, but I mean, from 2 feet away, it looks really good. So it still has to cure. Hopefully, I don't know if you can see, there's like a bunch of pollen and leaves and buds and stuff, that hopefully that doesn't land on this for 10 minutes until it's mostly cured. Obviously needs 60 minutes and then usually 24 hours. But as long as from these first few minutes nothing sticks to it, I don't think it'll harden anything to it. But that looks good to me. So I'll go ahead, and I think that looks great, and it's only going to get better, because if you screw it up, it's more noticeable when it's wet than when it cures. But that's really good, and I still have to do the other one. So I'll come over here, and you can see this one has way more of that etching. Maybe if I really sanded it hard with a drill, you could get that out, but why bother? Because the ceramic should level that off. You definitely want good prep work. I mean, it doesn't need to be the greatest sand job, but you definitely want it to be nice and wiped off and dry, and then let the ceramic do the rest for you. It's the quickest step, but you want to have a good hand with it so you don't mess up. But I think I'll finish that other side and come back. Alright, so I'd pretty much say that's the finished product. This side this was the more heavily oxidized side, came out perfect. And this side wasn't as bad, but it's a little more cloudy. And the one error I made, which is like right here, I got a little greedy and came in for one, and I think you can see that right there. So it's truly, you go over it one time, and if it got wet, don't go over it again. And it was probably 10 seconds, if that, 5 seconds after, and that was enough to do that. So truly just go over it one time. If you overlap while you're doing it, it's not a big deal, but if you leave it and then do something and come back, it's gonna do that. So I mean, from right here, it's already not a big deal, and it's not as bad as I did it before. But this one that I did much better. So that was just because I went over that one once. That was the one I recorded, and they're obviously not cured yet. You want that 60 minutes before you drive it or get any water, but I'd say by the morning, and certainly once the sun hits it, it'll be pretty baked in. I just want to see how long it'll hold up. Again, there's that other car I did, lasted a year, and it still looked perfect. So the Cerakote should actually hold up. And now the hardest part is to get these pieces of masking tape off and hope no water is under those that drips on anything. So I'll probably wait another 10 or 20 minutes, clean up and put my stuff away, and then get that last part done. Okay, so I'd say that's more or less what the finished product will look like. Came out pretty good. Definitely a notch below what brand new ones would, but for $20 to $30 depending on which kit you buy. And it might actually show up a little better. It's getting dark out, but compared to in the daytime with all the glare that'd be on those reflectors. And you can see lightly those, just that was one mistake I made, was just go over it that one time, but you can see the transition from the side lens to the headlights pretty much the same now. Now why these are, as far as I know, at least since I had the car, both factory, so why this would tint and that wouldn't. This car was repaired on the front, so unless these are aftermarket. But I don't think even the turtle wax ones when I finished came out this good, so hopefully these ones actually stay this good looking, and that would make the worst part, the clear coat coming off and this chrome strip. But just having those headlights cleaned up really makes a big difference. And then I did an LED conversion, which I might make a review on that. They were plug and play. You probably can't see it because of just the exposure, because they're like pure white, 5,000 or maybe even 6,000, but more like 5,000. Okay, but that really helps enhance it, is they're not coming out all through yellow lenses. Again, it doesn't show up, but they are crystal clear. I think I'm going to leave it there. I'm happy with that. For $20 to $30 again, I'd recommend it. Just put the prep work in and be very light on that application, and they should come out fine. So hopefully that was helpful. Thanks for watching, and you'll see me in the next one. Have a good one.